right, President Trump has authorized the federal government to take direct control of the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department. So I want to talk about that. It's a long video I have for you. So I want to play some videos from different news outlets. We're also going to get into some statistics on crime in D.C. Let's check it out.
Announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States. I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening. They've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly.
All right, so there's that. The president in a press conference discussing his federal takeover of the D.C. Police Department. But here's a video from News Nation. Here's Elizabeth Vargas, a news anchor, going toe-to-toe with a liberal who thinks that this is totally unnecessary. This is a long 8-minute video here. I want to play that, and then we'll talk about D.C.'s crime numbers potentially being fudged.
Bring in Kaya Chatterjee. She's the executive director of Free D.C., a group advocating for self-governance in the nation's capital. She and her group protested outside the White House as the president made his announcement today. Thanks so much for being here. So, Kaya, D.C. still ranks in the top 10 when it comes to homicides. It has a real ongoing problem with juvenile carjackings. More than half the carjackers arrested are under 18. Doesn't something need to be done here?
We definitely need to do something about the safety of the people of D.C., but the things that need to be done are things like stopping mass firings, are things like making sure that people have access to housing, people have access to Medicaid, people have access to basic social services that we know reduce crime, that children have an ability to be taken care of. We, the people of D.C., our elected officials, have reduced crimes to record lows, right? These are records that have been set in reducing crime, and that's because we know how to do it. And that means we also know that what Trump is doing right now is exacerbating crime in D.C. This whole thing is just a pretext.
These people are always saying that Trump is making it worse. Everything he does makes it worse. Trying to cut down on crime, he sends in the National Guard, and it exacerbates the problem. We'll get into that.
Kaya, those are record lows compared to your own statistics. You're still 8th when it comes to, homicides across the country. And while crime is down, it is still high. And when you look at these...
real quick, look at that. So, okay, only 99 people killed, only 99 homicides instead of 112. Only 55 sex abuse crimes compared to 107. Only 530 assault with deadly weapons. Come on. Almost 900 robberies and over 1,500 total crimes. That's not exactly something to be proud of.
Carjackings. A congressman was carjacked, an FBI agent was carjacked. There's still an issue there when you have these teenage gangs roaming around committing these crimes.
So I was a neighborhood commissioner here in D.C. We have neighborhood commissions for every neighborhood in D.C. So I am very intimately aware with the day-to-day of what people are experiencing and the need for us to enhance our safety here in D.C. I have been working on that issue for decades, and so I know what works. And what I'm trying...
You've been working on it for decades. Look at all that crime. She's done a horrible job.
To tell you is that the things that bring us safety are the things that increase our employment levels, that improve our economy, that give young people things to do. 14-year-olds are children still, and I think it's very dangerous to paint them as something other than children. And I'll just say this, whether they are on private islands or whether they are in our criminal justice system or in our schools, these are children who are 14 years old, and our first and primary job as a people and as a community is to protect our kids. And
except when the kids are committing crimes. We have a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old who carjacked an Uber driver and killed him in the process. I think that's the kind of thing that gets people upset. Yep. And wonder about how we're treating teenagers in the criminal justice system. We heard Jeanine Pirro this afternoon argue for pushing the age down to 14 to charge people as an adult. But I take your point. The point is that I think you're alluding to teenagers on a private island, meaning Jeffrey Epstein's island. Those teenagers were victims of crimes. The teenagers we're talking about have been arrested for committing crimes.
Yes.
Kaya, stand by. I want to hear more from you, but I also want to bring in someone from the opposing side of this argument. Zach Smith is a senior fellow with the conservative think tank, the Heritage Foundation. Jack, Kaya and Mayor Muriel Bowser make the same point that crime is down. So why are we rolling in the military if crime is down 26% this year?
Well, I think we have to put those statistics in context. The 30-year low statistic that has been cited so often in recent days, that comes from January from the Biden administration. I think there are reasons to question the validity of that statistic, whether the crime numbers have been accurately reported. I also think we have to look not just last year, but look at the crime rates today compared to 5, 6, or 7 years ago. And unfortunately, the crime rates today are still much, much higher than they were if we go back 5, 6, 7 years. And I'll give one statistic. If you look at carjackings in 2018, there were 148 carjackings that year. If you look at carjackings in 2023, there were 957, almost 1,000 carjackings. Now, last year, that number decreased substantially, though, again, there are reasons to question whether that number was accurately reported. But that 497 carjackings from 2024, that's still almost triple the number than in 2018. So all of that to say, D.C., unfortunately, is still confronted with a serious violent crime.
Let's just say those numbers are accurate, which there's reason to believe that there are issues. They're patting themselves on the back for having 500 carjackings when it was only, I say only, but 148 just in 2018.
Problem.
But Zach, we didn't, listen, it is 8th when it comes. There are other American cities that have far higher murder rates than Washington, D.C. We don't see federal troops rolling into those cities. We don't see the National Guard rolling into those cities.
Well, D.C. is unique. It's our nation's capital. I think we heard the president say that today. And ultimate authority for what happens in the district rests with the federal government. And unfortunately, I think one of the frustrations we've heard from so many D.C. residents is that there really seems to be a lack of accountability.
Homicide rate per capita. Yeah, so it's 8th in the nation. That's pretty dang high. And the nation's capital shouldn't be a dangerous place to visit or live.
Particularly for very young juvenile offenders. The D.C. Attorney General, who primarily prosecutes juvenile offenders, he has said he will never charge a juvenile as an adult, no matter how violent their crime, no matter how heinous their actions. And it is that lack of accountability that has been so frustrating.
Kaya, that brings us back to what you and I were just discussing before I brought Zach in, which is this tension here between Jeanine Pirro, who's now the U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C. As I said, she called for lowering the age to 14 to when you can charge these teenagers as an adult. The Trump administration clearly believes that D.C. is not being tough enough on youthful offenders. And the D.C. Attorney General had said a couple of years ago, kids will be kids, to explain the light sentences they were getting.
So the Attorney General, the mayor, there's not a single person in D.C. that has asked for this takeover of D.C. You asked a question a few seconds ago, which is why D.C.? And it is because we're the capital, and it's because authoritarians want to take over capitals. It's so that they can control the people and the message, and they can make sure that they are not protested and that people are not demanding their liberties. Hopefully we can all agree that it is a complete overreach to deploy the military in a city that has declining crime rates.
Here we go with the authoritarian stuff.
Hopefully we can agree that people should decide, but through their representatives, on the way they are governed. This is a very simple question about, are you on the side of democracy or are you not? The people of D.C. have been clear. We do not want this. Does anyone care what we think? Does it matter whether people whether people think that this is a good idea or not? In a democracy, it matters. So right now we are at a moment where the simple question is, are you on the side of democracy or are you not on the side of democracy? And if you are on the side of democracy, then you want a free D.C. You want a D.C. where our leaders, are the people who we elect, make decisions for us, not people who are in the middle of a power grab all over the country. But most importantly, they want to take over our community because they know that that is how authoritarians gain more power. And we are not going to let it happen.
All right, Zach Smith, Kaya Chatterjee, thank you both so much.
Yeah, just ladies nuts. Democracy, you know, that buzzword that gets thrown around all the time. Democracy, authoritarian. People are upset that the president's coming in to fight crime in their city. And there was a protest about this. We'll get into that as well. But I want to get into these numbers, these crime numbers potentially being falsified in D.C. to make them look lower than what they actually are.
Commander is under investigation for allegedly making changes to crime statistics in his district. Tonight, the police department confirms Michael Pulliam was placed on paid administrative leave in mid-May, a move that came just a week after Pulliam filed an equal opportunity complaint against an assistant chief. And the police union accused the department of deliberately falsifying crime data. News 4's Paul Wagner has the story tonight.
Well, hi there. The D.C. Police Union is putting its allegations on the record tonight, claiming police supervisors in the department are manipulating crime data to make it appear violent crime has fallen considerably when compared to last year. As of today, according to the D.C. Police website, crime is down 25%, a decrease the chairman of the police union calls preposterous. The union's allegations come as the former commander of the 3rd District stands accused of doing what the union says is being done day in and day out.
To areas where we know that
That's Michael Pulliam standing with the chief of police at a recent news conference. At the time, he was the commander of the 3rd District, which patrols the neighborhoods of Adams Morgan and Columbia Heights. In early May, 5 law enforcement sources familiar with the investigation tell News 4 Pulliam was placed on administrative leave with pay and told he was under investigation for questionable changes to crime data. A move that came just about a week after he filed an EEOC complaint against Executive Assistant Chief of Police Andre Wright, according to 3 law enforcement sources familiar with the complaint. The reasons for that later in this story. News 4 reached out to Commander Pulliam for comment. He denied the allegations against him and referred us to the public information officer. As for the union's allegations, Chairman Greg Pemberton laid it all on the table.
When our members respond to the scene of a felony offense where there is a victim reporting that a felony occurred, inevitably there will be a lieutenant or a captain that will show up on that scene and direct those members to take a report for a lesser offense. So instead of taking a report for a shooting or a stabbing or a carjacking, they will order that officer to take a report for a theft or an injured person to the hospital or a felony assault, which is not the same type of classification.
Greg Pemberton says the police department's command staff is focusing on 2 categories in order to get the numbers to fall. They are armed with a dangerous weapon, an injured person to the hospital.
When management officials are directing officers to take reports for felony assault, or if they're going back into police databases and changing offenses to felony assault is not a category of crime that's listed on the department's daily crime stats. It's also not something that's a requirement of the FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting Program. So by changing criminal offenses from, for example, ADW bat or ADW gun to felony assault, that would avoid both the MPD and the FBI from reporting that as a Part 1 or a felony offense.
I mean, how many places is this happening? If this is going on in D.C., as this guy is being accused of doing, how many other places are we seeing this happen? I know there are some liberal cities where certain crimes have been lessened. The what they actually they're being lessened. They're being classified as lesser crimes. So then it looks like crime is going down. I think that happened in San Francisco, I believe, a couple of years ago.
Pemberton says the union has been gathering evidence for some time now by looking at reports and talking with officers all over the city.
What we've heard through our members and through members of management that are willing to talk with the union is that this is a directive from the command staff, is that they want to make sure that these classifications of these reports are adjusted over time to make sure that the overall crime stats stay down.
As of last Monday, when we spoke with Pemberton, D.C. crime data shows violent crime was down 28%. Today, the department's website says violent crime is down 25%. When compared to the same time last year, and overall crime is down 8%.
That's preposterous. There's absolutely no way crime could be down 28%. Last year, they suggested that it went down 34%.
And there's more to the story involving Commander Pulliam. In April, his wife, Captain Rachel Pulliam, was transferred by Chief Pamela Smith from the Youth Division to Midnights in the 7th District. Subsequently, according to 3 sources familiar with the incident and the timing of it all, Executive Assistant Chief Andre Wright ordered Commander Pulliam to pack up his wife's belongings from Youth Division and move them on his own to his wife's new assignment in the 7th District. Sources familiar with the complaint say Commander Pulliam viewed the order as retaliation. 5 law enforcement sources tell News 4 about a week later, Commander Pulliam's police powers were revoked. Now, Chief Smith declined an on-camera interview, but tells News 4 she cannot comment on an ongoing investigation. And as for the claims made by the union, Chief Smith released this statement. It says, the Metropolitan Police Department is committed to upholding the trust and the confidence of the public. Any irregularity in crime data brought to my attention will be addressed immediately. I do not condone any official reclassifying criminal offenses outside the guidelines set in the MPD policy. Any allegation of this behavior will be dealt with through our internal processes, which will ensure those members are held accountable. I have the utmost confidence in the command staff leadership currently in place across the Metropolitan Police Department. And one other note, we did reach out to Chief Andre Wright, and he declined to comment.
Yeah. So there's that. Numbers are possibly being falsified to make them look lower than what they actually are. Yeah, so I want to play this for you from Tom Homan. Said DC crime defenders think that we're idiots. Let's see what Tom Homan has to say about this. Then I'll get into some statistics very soon.
ATF, Secret Service. Is ICE a part of this equation at all?
Yes, ICE and Border Patrol. I think it's a great idea. I mean, I've been in law enforcement for 40 years. I won't transit D.C. without a gun. And any of these reporters said the crime rate is way down and it's safer than they say. I dare any of them walk the streets of D.C. after dark. If it's that safe, go ahead and do it. See how that works out for you.
What equation at all?
I mean, you saw what happened to Big Balls.
Do they think the average American is, especially one that might, live and commute in the D.C. area, to try and get us to believe that it's really getting better in Washington when you see the stories?
You know, it's the same people who said the border's secure as you and I watch thousands of people cross the border every day. They just don't, they think we're idiots. So, you know, anybody that transits D.C., works in D.C., or lives in D.C., they know the truth. And just like the ones who were smart, we knew the border was not secure. We knew the border is a historic crisis. So, you know, the lies, the lies, the lies. They think if they lie enough, people start believing them. But Americans are smarter.
Man, wild stuff. All right, so here's a news anchor on ABC talking about how she got jumped downtown.
We've been talking so much about the numbers, and yeah, usually that's how you play devil's advocate, is you talk about, oh, well, stats say crime is down. However, I can tell you firsthand here in downtown D.C. where we work, right here around our bureau, just in the past 6 months, you know, there were 2 people shot. 1 person died, literally 2 blocks down here from the bureau. It was within the last 2 years that I actually was jumped, walking just 2 blocks down from here. And then just this morning, one of my coworkers said her car was stolen a block away from the bureau. So we can talk about the numbers going down, but crime is happening every single day because we're all experiencing it firsthand while working and living down here.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who have experienced this. A lot of people who work, staffers or interns in Congress, who news anchors who have experienced crime firsthand. Here's what somebody said. This is Brent Shear. My car was regularly broken into in Capitol Hill in a private parking spot behind my condo. And then the neighborhood guidance was to leave your car unlocked so they didn't break your windows. When my brother got robbed in the street, the police basically laughed at us when we called them. This is from Rachel Bovard, his response to her. Anyone who has lived in D.C. for more than 10 years and is honest knows the city has gone from nice, clean, and mostly safe to gross, dirty, and scary in the last 5 years. The State of the Union alone is a testament to this. Yeah, here's somebody else. Anna Giratelli. For people who say they don't know a D.C. crime victim, hi, I'm Anna. In 2020, I was attacked while walking to the post office, blocks from the Capitol. A homeless man lunged at me and assaulted me. I survived, but that day changed my life. Let's see what else it says. I fled D.C. as I waited for the U.S. Attorney's Office to prosecute. It took 2 years before my assailant went to federal prison for what he did to me that day. But my life is forever changed. My career, my home, lost. I can't return back there. I'm writing a book about what happened to me this week, and we'll be penned an op-ed about my D.C. experience. Looking forward to seeing what that's like. But let's get into some numbers here. This is from Fox 5, Washington, D.C. How bad is D.C. crime? Overall statistics from D.C.'s Metro PD show crime in the district is down so far in 2025 compared to a year ago. Violent crime has dropped 26% this year compared to 2024. In 2023, carjacking surged to more than 100 incidents reported during the summer. All right, so here are the numbers. By the numbers, D.C. police statistics show homicides, robberies, down 26%. In 2024, the city saw a 35% drop from 2023. So that's what the guy was alluding to who said these numbers are bogus when they're saying that they're down about 34% from the previous year. He says nonsense. During the press conference, Trump referenced a recent story about a man who quit after he was asked to do phony numbers on crime and asserted that while it looks like it's going down, they're not going down. Violent crimes. As of August 11, 2025, MPD reported a total of 1,586 violent crimes occurred compared to 2,138 this time last year. So far this year, there have been 99 homicides compared to 112 in 2024. According to the data, approximately 55 sex abuse crimes were reported this year compared to 110 in 2024. In 2025, police reported 534 assaults with deadly weapons, crimes compared to 667 last year. Meanwhile, police noted there has been a decline in robberies with 898 in 2025 compared to 1,249 this time last year. 14,000 property crimes in 2025 compared to 14,734 this time last year. Approximately 437 burglaries this year compared to 543 this time last year. Motor vehicle thefts in 2025 are similar, with a little over 2,900 according to police data. I mean, what kind of city is that where you have 29, almost 3,000 motor vehicle thefts? I mean, and these people are saying that crime is they're seeing record lows of declines in crime. MP noted that auto theft so far this year is slightly down, 3,700 compared to 3,866 in 2024. The data found that theft other in 2025 is at 7,023 compared to 7,418 last year, while arsons were similar in the past year. Dig deeper. Carjacking rates spiked in 2023. August 23, Ward 8 Councilman Trayon White called on National Guard to manage crime in D.C. that year. White urged the community to help stop spike in violence that led to a 28% increase in homicides in the district. Meanwhile, the summer 23 experienced an alarming number of carjackings, with 140 reported in June 2023 and another 121 in July. But carjackings declined substantially so far this year in 2025 compared to 2023, with 36 in June and 16 in July. All right, so here is a graph of the last, let's refresh this. All right, 20-year trend. Here's a good look at the crime over the last 20 years in D.C. So we have 2005, 196 homicides. Then we go to here, in 24, 187. And then you have 274 in 2023. I mean, this is not good. I mean, you can see, okay, the crime is declining, but from these crazy astronomical numbers, apparently declining because the numbers may not be accurate. But if you just talk to the people on the streets of DC, or you hear the news anchors and the people on X, you see anecdotal evidence that things are out of control. There's a reason why Tom Homan carries a firearm every time he goes to DC, because it's not safe. Like I said, we saw what happened to Big Balls. We saw what happened to, we heard what happened to the news anchor and many other people in DC who have been assaulted, have been killed, have been carjacked. 13 and 15-year-old with the Uber driver, still in the Uber driver's car, the Lyft driver. I mean, yeah, do I think there is a reason? Do I think there's good enough reason for Trump to take over DC and clean it up? Yeah, of course. I heard the other night there are 9,000 homeless people in DC. Yeah, this is the nation's capital we're talking about. So it should be taken care of. It should be handled. And I think it's necessary that he does so. I think we're going to see like what we saw with the border. When he clamped down on the border, the numbers went from this to that. So I think in DC, we're going to see this. We're going to see a real sharp decline in the crime in the nation's capital. I haven't been to DC before. I want to go, but I hear so many different things. Some people say, oh, well, it's like any other city. Just avoid certain areas. But then you see things like this where right near the White House or the Capitol building, you have all these violent crimes happening and carjackings. I don't want to visit a place like that. I mean, why are we so accepting of just certain places in major cities being ridden with crime. It's become the norm just to accept that there's crime in certain areas. And I think there is good reason why this needs to be nipped in the bud. I mean, it's gotten out of control. I don't want to go to a big city and be like, oh, well, I can't go here, I can't go there. I need to watch my back at night because something might happen. I just heard about a girl in New York City on the subway who got stabbed because she didn't want to give up her purse to a nut job. So I don't want to visit these big cities and have to watch my back. I want to go someplace that's safe. I want all of our cities to thrive and be beautiful. I don't want to have to worry about homelessness and muggings and things like that if I want to vacation somewhere. So I just avoid these big cities for the most part. Yeah, but near the protest of Trump's D.C. takeover, of the federal government D.C. takeover of the police department, somebody got shot. A person has been shot and left unconscious and not breathing. The shooting happened near D.C., near Logan Circle area, 12th Northwest in Washington, D.C., about a couple of blocks from where the people were protesting Trump fighting crime in D.C. Somebody got shot. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Crazy, crazy nonsense. Yeah, but I want to leave that right there. Just want to talk about this. I think it's a big story, and I think it's important to talk about because this had to be done, in my opinion. And we'll see what happens going forward. I know there are talks of potentially targeting L.A. and Chicago. A lot of killings happen in Chicago, and like a lot of it is in the inner city, yes, but it shouldn't be that way. And this lady before in the video said she's been working on this for decades. You know, this youth crime and all that, whatever she said, it's still bad. Because obviously she hasn't done a great job. Yeah. All right, I'll leave that right there. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think that this was necessary for Trump to send the National Guard in D.C. and clean up the streets? Do you like? I've never been there, so let me know what you think. If you've been there and what you think about it. Yeah, give me your honest opinion. All right. Like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Thank you. Take care.